You are tired. Not the tiredness that sleep repairs, something deeper. A weariness that has settled into your bones like sand into ancient stone. Every morning, before your feet touch the floor, the world has already begun its assault. Notifications, demands, the endless scroll of other people's emergencies dressed as your own. You have built a life, and yet you feel unmoored, reactive, pulled in directions you did not choose by forces you cannot name. This is not a failure of effort. You have worked, you have achieved, you have answered every call, met every deadline, climbed every ladder placed before you. And still, the ground beneath you trembles. "2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor sat alone in his tent on the frozen borders of empire. His name was Marcus Aurelius. He ruled the known world, and each night, by candlelight, he wrote to himself, not speeches, not decrees, reminders. How to remain unmoved when everything moves. He was not seeking escape. He was building something, a structure within himself that no external force could topple. Tonight, we build the same. There is a place inside you that the world cannot touch. Seneca called it the inner citadel, a fortress of alabaster, silent, impenetrable, not built of pride or ego, but of something far more durable, clarity. You check your phone 73 times a day, not because you choose to, because you have been trained. Each vibration, each red notification, each breaking headline, these are not information, they are interruptions wearing the mask of importance. And with each interruption, a small piece of your sovereignty is traded away. You become less the author of your hours and more a passenger, blown by winds you did not summon. The Stoics understood this, not phones of course, but the principle. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Power over your mind. Consider what this means. Not control over outcomes, not dominion over others, not the elimination of difficulty or discomfort. Simply this: the ability to choose your response, to stand as a pillar when the storms rage, to remain unmoved, not because you feel nothing, but because you have anchored yourself to something deeper than feeling. Your inner citadel is not a place of retreat, it is a place of return. When the noise grows unbearable, when the demands multiply beyond reason, when your inbox becomes a monument to other people's urgency, you return. to the silence within, to the stone floor of your own being, to the one room in the universe that belongs entirely to you. This citadel is not given, it is built, stone by stone, through practice, through the daily discipline of choosing where you place your attention. For attention is the only currency that matters. Spend it on noise, and you become noise. Spend it on stillness, and you become something else entirely. A monolith in a world of sand. We have been taught that more is the answer. More productivity, more connection, more information, more tools to manage the chaos that more has created. The Stoics taught the opposite. They practiced subtraction. Not poverty, not denial, something more precise. The deliberate removal of everything that does not serve your firmness of mind. Seneca was one of the wealthiest men in Rome. He did not reject his wealth, but he practiced living without it, sleeping on hard floors, eating simple food, not as punishment, as training, to remind himself that these external things were borrowed, that his peace did not depend on their presence. What would you subtract? The third social media platform, the news cycle that changes nothing but your anxiety. The commitments you made from guilt rather than purpose. The conversations that drain. The objects that crowd. The noise that has become so constant you've forgotten it is noise. Subtraction is not about less for its own sake. It is about revealing what remains when the unnecessary falls away. And what remains is you, the essential structure, the load-bearing walls of your existence, the pillars. Most people are afraid of this subtraction because in the silence that follows, they might discover they do not know who they are without the noise. This fear is valid, and it is precisely why the work matters. To stand in the void of your own subtraction, to meet yourself there, to find that you are enough, not because of what you produce or consume or accumulate, but because you exist, because you are the witness, the one who remains when everything else is removed. This is the gift of subtraction, not emptiness, essence. Like a sculptor removing marble to reveal the figure that was always within the stone. You are the figure. The noise is just marble. There is a Latin phrase the Stoics used: amor fati, love of fate. Not acceptance, not tolerance, not gritting your teeth through difficulty while waiting for it to pass. Love. This is perhaps the most difficult teaching and the most essential. The modern mind rebels against this. We are trained to optimize, to fix, to improve, to refuse any outcome that does not match our projection of how things should be. And in this refusal, we suffer. Not from the events themselves, but from our argument with reality. Marcus Aurelius lost children, faced plague, endured betrayal by those closest to him, spent years in military campaigns far from home, in conditions that would break most people. And he wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, and do so with all your heart." Not despite fate, because of it. The obstacle becomes the way. The difficulty becomes the teacher. The thing you did not choose becomes the very material from which you build your strength. Your inbox will fill. Deadlines will press. Markets will shift. People will disappoint. Plans will dissolve like morning fog. This is not a problem to be solved. It is the texture of existence, the grain of the wood from which your life is carved. Amor fati does not ask you to pretend difficulty is pleasant. It asks something harder and more honest, to recognize that you do not know what is good for you, that the thing you curse today may be the foundation of who you become tomorrow. The Stoics were not optimists. They were not pessimists. They were something rarer, realists who chose love anyway. And when you can meet your fate, not with resignation, not with forced positivity, but with genuine openness, something shifts. The ground beneath you stops trembling, not because circumstances change, because you stop fighting the earth. You become like water, like stone, like something ancient that has learned to work with forces rather than against them. Unmoved. Not because you are rigid, because you have stopped resisting what is. We arrive now at the center. There is a void at the heart of modern life. We sense it in the quiet hours. We flee from it with busyness, with consumption, with the endless stimulation that technology provides. But the void is not your enemy. It is your origin. Before the notifications, before the deadlines, before the identities you constructed and the roles you learned to play, there was simply awareness, pure, untroubled, watching. This is what the Stoics pointed toward, not a philosophy of doing, though they did much, a philosophy of being, of returning again and again to the still point from which all action arises. The void is not empty. It is full of possibility. It is the alabaster silence from which every choice emerges, the white space between the words, the pause between breaths. You are not your thoughts. You are not your reactions. You are not the stories others tell about you or the stories you tell about yourself. You are the space in which all of this appears, vast, quiet, unshakable. To remain unshakable is not to become hard. It is to become so spacious and that nothing can disturb your center. Like a deep lake, the surface may ripple, but the depths remain still. This is your inheritance. This is what Marcus Aurelius pointed toward in his private writings, what Seneca gestured at in his letters, what every wisdom tradition has tried to articulate in different words. You already are what you seek. The stillness is not something to achieve. It is something to remember, to return to, again and again and again. When the noise rises, and it will, you have a choice. You can be carried away, or you can return to the citadel, to the subtraction, to the love of what is, to the void that is your home. A pillar does not struggle to stand. It simply stands, rooted in earth, rising toward sky, unmoved by the weather that swirls around it. You are the pillar. You are the monolith. You are the stone that remembers its own firmness. The practices are simple, not easy, but simple. Protect your attention, subtract the unnecessary, love what comes, return to the void. Do this daily, not perfectly, daily. And over time, something will change. Not the world. The world will continue its noise, but you will become someone who can stand within the chaos without being touched by it. Someone who has found the still point. Someone who has remembered what the ancients knew. That peace is not the absence of storms, it is the presence of depth. The world is loud. Be still.